Cleveland, Olivia Winter here on the News Flash. We may be well aware that human trafficking is happening in the U.S., but it may surprise you to learn that it happens right here in our city too. This reality may seem too close to home, but I assure you, help is even closer. Help to get us woke on the topic is the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center's Chief Advocacy Officer, Teresa Stafford. Teresa, welcome to the studio.
Hello, Olivia. Thank you.
Teresa, it's a shocking revelation to me and many of my audience members that human trafficking is happening right here in the city of Cleveland.
Yes, human trafficking is happening here in the city of Cleveland. What we're seeing at the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center is that young girls who oftentimes go missing from home are at a high risk to being trafficked. And these individuals come to us not only have experiencing human trafficking, but they also have experienced a prior sexual assault before they were trafficked. We tend to see a lot of individuals who are at the intersection of what I would say human trafficking and addiction, where individuals who are addicted to drugs or alcohol are trafficked, and the traffickers utilize their addiction to take power and control over them.
When I think of human trafficking, I think of places like South America or far away Asian countries, or maybe even Las Vegas, Nevada. Cleveland doesn't come to mind.
I think a lot of times when people think of trafficking, they think about international human trafficking, they think about the movement trafficked, but trafficking is happening here right in the city of Cleveland, right in Cuyahoga County. And we see it a lot with, like I said earlier, young girls who are engaged in the criminal justice system, who might leave home because home is not a safe place, or individuals who have had previous traumas and that trauma was never addressed, and traffickers use those vulnerabilities to take control over them. And a lot of times it's directly related to drugs.
Are there any particular areas where human trafficking is more prevalent?
I wouldn't say there's like any particular area, but we know that human trafficking tends to happen a lot inside of hotels, and a lot of our hotels are within the suburban communities off of the highways. Those are high-risk places for trafficking to take place. However, the individuals that are trafficked can come from the inner city of Cleveland, they can come from the suburban community, but we see a lot of the individuals that engage with us through our program at the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center are young African-American girls from the inner city of Cleveland.
How is it that traffickers are able to target these young women?
Because of previous trauma that they have had in their lifetime, the traffickers play on maybe the low self-esteem, they make them fall in love, they give them false promises of a better life. And once they get connected to that trafficker, in the beginning, it might be just that, but after a while, they're gonna have to start paying that trafficker back for all of the nice gifts, the trips, the safe place where they're laying their head at for the moment, and then the trafficker can just switch and say, now that I gave you all of these things, you owe me. And so these individuals get connected, and sometimes they get trapped in this cycle that's hard for them to get out of because of the embarrassment, the shame, and then the disconnect from family members who once provided them some safety, or even those family members didn't provide safety, that they were the ones that were causing harm, which pushed them into the traffickers.
There are different types of human trafficking. Can you share with us the two most common types of human trafficking?
Yes, we're talking about what we're seeing here. We see sex trafficking. This is where individuals are exploited, where they are forced to have sex with individuals for money. The other trafficking is labor trafficking, and this is basically where people are forced to provide a service in exchange for money. And typically, they're not the ones obtaining the money. It's the trafficker or the individual that owns the business that's obtaining the financial gains.
So it sounds like human trafficking can really happen in plain sight.
It typically does happen in plain sight. What we see a lot of times is that the individual, the person that's being trafficked, is with another individual that may appear to be their boyfriend, may appear to be their girlfriend, or even the parent. Unfortunately, we have seen parents traffic their own children. So when you have that type of relationship on the surface, it can seem like it's a relationship that's a healthy relationship, one that's normal, because typically you're not seeing the person being forced to have sex with somebody in public. You're not seeing the physical violence in public. So when we're engaged with these individuals and we run across them out in the streets, we may not readily be able to identify that that person is in a trafficking situation. However, upon talking to them, maybe asking them, are they able to maneuver and go about their day without having to ask for permission? Do they have access to money that they make? Do they have their personal identification? Are they able to control that? Are they able to go to school every single day? Are they able to go and meet family members? So just some of these questions we have to dig a little bit deeper in and ask an individual before we're able to identify, because it's not that easy to identify just by looking at a person.
Because it's happening in what appears to be normal situations, and that's why it goes unnoticed.
And that, exactly. And the other thing of it is what I'll tell you, Olivia, majority of the individuals that we have worked with, they have never came out and said, hey, Ray Crisis Center, I'm being trafficked right now, because they don't even understand the experiences that they have, that the trafficker is putting them into. Most of the time, these individuals have what we call trauma bonding, where they are so connected to the trafficker. The trafficker, they believe that the trafficker is actually doing them good. The trafficker makes them feel as though nobody else cares about them. And because of the previous trauma that they have experienced in life, the trafficker used that and say, hey, nobody cared about you in the past. I am the only one that loves you. And when you have that type of a relationship, even though the trafficker is causing them harm, and the trafficker has told them, nobody else cares, nobody else is going to help you. If you tell, you're going to be the one that get in trouble. And when that mentality is put on top of the trauma that they have experienced, it makes it really hard for people to self-identify and hard for even professionals to identify and be able to access survivors.
Teresa, you shared with me that often young women, young girls, they're targeted. But could anyone fall victim? And if anyone could, how could we all protect ourselves from becoming a target?
I think we have to flip it from us protecting ourselves to how do we change the conversation to making sure that people know that selling people, that trying to traffic individuals, that buying sex from individuals, forcing people to work without being paid, how do we have that conversation that that's not appropriate, that it's illegal, it's not the behavior that we should accept in our society? If we change from the onus that people need to protect themselves from being trafficked to we should not traffic people, I think we'll have a better understanding and a better opportunity to change the narrative about trafficking in our society.
I agree with you, because to say to protect ourselves, or I have to protect myself, means that it's allowed to exist.
Absolutely, and we need to change that. It's like that old conversation where if you don't wear short clothes, you won't get raped.
Right.
And we know people get raped and sexually assaulted wearing all type of outfits. It's not the outfit, it's the individual that's causing harm that we need to change that concept from. We need to start talking about healthy relationships. We need to start talking about what consent means in our society. We need to talk about laws and making sure people understand it is illegal to buy sex. It is illegal to sell an individual. So I think we change that and have people really come from a mindset that trafficking should not happen, we have to change that mindset.
The Cleveland Rape Crisis Center is stepping in to support by opening up the Drop-In Service Center. Can you tell us a little more about the Drop-In Service Center?
Yes, I'm really excited about this. Working with survivors of human trafficking, we identified that there was still a gap, even in our own services. Survivors will come in and just drop into our main office to charge their telephone, to want to just have a safe place where they're not being bothered, nobody is harassing them, maybe even to use the internet to look for jobs or to print information that they need. So we're opening up the Drop-In Center in the Glenville neighborhood at the beginning of January 2021, and that Drop-In Center will be that place where a survivor can come and just have a safe landing. If they want to engage with our staff and services, they'll have that opportunity. They have an opportunity to talk to a counselor, an advocate, a case manager, and then we have a wealth of classes that they can come into throughout the week. We're going to hopefully have trauma yoga, a dance therapy, because their bodies were used in such a negative way, and we want them to see that their bodies are beautiful. Their bodies can be used in a positive manner. We have everyday living skill classes where we're teaching people how to bank, how to do a budget, even a small budget, just so they can understand that they can have some control over their own finances. Healthy relationship classes, classes on healthy sexuality, and just things that we take advantage of for people who are not living in human trafficking, such as being able to grocery shop. I'll never forget, we worked with a survivor who had been trafficked for about 14 years, and she had finally got out of that situation, and we were able to help connect her to safe housing with one of our community partners. One of the things she didn't know how to do was how to grocery shop. And we're talking about an adult woman because she never had an opportunity to do something that we think is so minor. It's just going to the store and grocery shop for our house. So we want to be a place where we can help people gain these skills that they might not have had an opportunity to gain because of their trafficking experience and trauma, so they can see that they can live a life of self-sufficiency.
That's awesome. The center will be located, or currently is located, in Glenville, but it's not open yet.
Yes, correct. 2021.
Is there a particular reason why the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center chose the Glenville area for this location?
Well, we really wanted a place that's in the community, that's really easy for people to access. It's on a main bus line. It's right down the street from our community health partners. And we see a high number of the people that we engage with that have experienced human trafficking are young African-American girls. And so because of that, we wanted to be in the community where they could access our services without having to travel far.
At what point did the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center find that opening the drop-in service center necessary?
You know, we find it necessary because survivors of human trafficking should be able to have a space where they're going into that's just for survivors of human trafficking, where they can see people who have experienced similar traumas and not feel that they have to be judged or feel that shame when they walk into that space. So we wanted to create a space after listening to our clients that was for them, that was solely for them, and that they could access a plethora of services in one building.
What are some of those services?
So we'll have case management, advocacy, and the advocacy services are for people who might want to engage in the criminal justice system, where they'll have that supportive person talking to them with law enforcement. If the case goes forward into prosecution, the advocate would be there with them when they talk to the prosecutor's office. If they have to testify in court, that advocate will support them through that entire process. Then we have our counseling team that will provide individual counseling and group counseling as well. And we'll also host some psychoeducational groups and some peer-led groups for survivors.
If I needed help at any time of day, would I be able to stop in?
So we're working on figuring out the hours, and we're definitely going to listen to the community. We're going to listen to those who want to come into the agency for services. So in the beginning, we'll have some non-traditional hours. Definitely, it's not going to be 9 to 5 because we know survivors need services outside of just 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So we're working on figuring out what the hours will look like. But there'll definitely be some evening hours and weekend hours.
So who can come in to receive these services? Just human trafficking survivors?
Well, yes, definitely our first and foremost is providing services to individuals who have been directly impacted by human trafficking, whether it's sex trafficking or labor trafficking. However, what we know is that, especially with our young clients, that parents, they need that support as well. So we're going to have parent support groups. We'll have parent trauma support groups. We're going to have psychoeducational groups for parents. Because really, and I think you said it earlier, Olivia, like a lot of people don't understand human trafficking. They don't understand the complexities of human trafficking. So once we provide that education to parents and to supportive loved ones, they will have a better understanding of what that individual might have experienced. And then when we wrap them around with some of the trauma support services, they will hopefully be able to provide additional support outside of the support that we're going to provide when that individual is at home as well.
So it sounds like human trafficking really can impact more than just the survivor, but those who love them as well. And that's why they need these services.
Yes, so we look at the human trafficking, the way we want to approach this is very holistically and looking at who are the individuals that support the survivor, who are the individuals that that survivor might be able to rely on in the future, and how can we work with them together to make sure that everybody has access to services.
I'm interested, and I want to know, where can I learn more about human trafficking, the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, and the Drop-In Service Center?
Definitely visit our website at Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, and you will find a lot of information with regards to all of the services that we provide, as well as the information regarding Project STAR, which is our program Sex, Trafficking, Advocacy, and Recovery, which is dedicated to providing holistic services, trauma-informed services to survivors of human trafficking. But we also have our 24-hour hotline, which is manned by individuals who have received extensive trauma training. The individuals are available 24/7 on that hotline, and they're also available to go out into the community 24/7. So let's just say a survivor presents at an emergency room department. An individual on that hotline can respond at 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon to provide that initial advocacy support and crisis intervention. The hotline number is 1-855-431-STAR. And again, that hotline is available 24/7 for anyone who is seeking additional information about human trafficking, for somebody who might actually be in trafficking situations, or for a professional who might have a client that's trafficked and they want to get them connected to services. They can actually call that hotline 24/7 and get an appointment when they call. So if they call at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can get an appointment to see a service provider within 24 to 48 hours.
Thank you, Teresa. I truly appreciate you for joining me today. Thank you. You and the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center, you guys are truly saving lives and changing lives. Thank you. And if you are listening, you're out there and you're in desperate need of help, please contact the Cleveland Rape Crisis Centers. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, hope is close to home.